This is episode 98 of Standing Out. Standing Out is a remarkable interview-style podcast with the intention to highlight women and men making outstanding contributions in their field. Today, I'd like to welcome John Pushkin. John is the founder and president of Pushkin Public Relations. His candid, proactive approach to public relations has made him one of Denver's most widely respected PR practitioners. He has designed and implemented dozens of successful integrated strategic communications programs for healthcare and nonprofit clients, including Be Stroke Smart, a National Stroke Association national public awareness campaign, Checkoff Colorado, a groundbreaking collaborative statewide public awareness campaign for the charitable funds on Colorado's tax checkoff program, Immunize, I can't say that word just right. You know what I mean. Immunize Colorado's Kids, a research-driven bilingual campaign to improve Colorado's rate of childhood vaccinations, and Beat the Bug, a flu shot public awareness program. He also provides crisis communications management and training for Cheyenne Frontier Days, Denver PrideFest, and many other clients. Prior to beginning his career in public relations, John performed at concerts, folk festivals, and workshops across the country as a professional musician and promoted concerts for the legendary Denver Folklore Center. John, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Katrina. Thanks for having me.
That is something, so our audience doesn't know, but you and I know each other, and that's something I didn't know about you, your musical background.
Yeah. When people ask me how I got into PR, I usually tell them it was a very roundabout way.
Yeah, right.
Getting into what I do now, but originally I came out to Denver. I grew up in New Jersey and came out to Denver because I was a musician and found a home at the Denver Folklore Center in Denver, where there were lots of other people playing acoustic music and folk music, which is what I was into. So I ended up playing music for a long time. And during the course of that, I ended up booking a lot of the gigs we were playing, the bands I was in, and also promoting concerts for the Folklore Center and an early version of what's become the Swallow Hill Music Association.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so that gave me a lot of the skills I ended up using later when I got into PR.
I bet. And that's probably a sort of competitive space, right? So if you're getting those PR skills, you're also honing and refining along the way.
Yeah. I mean, I think being a musician taught me a lot of the skills we use now in PR, which is really how to communicate with people.
Yeah.
You know, when you're a musician, it's communicating with the audience that you're performing in front of. In PR, it's similar. You have to learn how to tell a story, and a story that's hopefully going to resonate with the audience that you're trying to communicate with.
Right. How long, what year was Pushkin PR established?
So we started in 1997.
What would you say, so we're in 2018, so is that 30 years?
21 years.
21. Okay, thanks for the quick math. What would you say are the biggest changes and shifts that you see in PR?
Wow. Well, we don't have fax machines anymore.
Right.
So that's a big change.
Wait, back up for a second. So how would you use the fax machine? You would fax a flyer type thing, or what would you do?
Well, sometimes you'd fax agreements, contracts, things like that to clients. Now we just email stuff.
Yeah.
You scan and email them. Sometimes people would fax you information. So we don't have that anymore. Everything is done. A lot of our work is done virtually with email and mobile phones and video chats like this. So where in the past we would have gone to a client that was out of state and met with them and needed somebody on the ground to talk to media and reporters in that location, now we do a lot of work virtually. So that's really different than how we started.
How do you, as a business owner, how do you keep up on like latest trends and news and things like that?
I think that's a kind of part of what you need to do constantly.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's when you're a musician, you never stop learning or practicing. No matter how much experience you have, I think it's really important that you keep working on your craft. And, you know, in the same regard, it's really important for us as PR people to stay on top of the latest developments and trends. And luckily, I have really good team members who can help me with that. I turn to partners like yourself sometimes who know have a lot of expertise in areas that we don't. So I think, you know, we try to do all of those things. And I think it's also really important to just, you know, read a lot and kind of make sure you're still working on your craft, no matter how much experience you might have.
Do you think, like, as you were, well, okay, so you say you got into PR in sort of a roundabout way from music. Were you making a conscious decision to start a PR firm?
Not at all.
So how, like,
Not at all. I played music, and like I said, and did promoted concerts and
yeah.
festivals. After that, I worked for a minor league baseball team.
Oh, okay.
And as opposed to working in the major leagues, when you work in a minor league for a minor league professional team, you wear a lot of hats. So you get to be really versatile. You do a lot of promotions. You do work on corporate sponsorships. So again, I was learning a lot of things that I use today for clients. So it taught me a lot. Um, and then I worked for a few different nonprofits. And gradually it became, more PR focused, the work I was doing for the nonprofits. And I think at a certain point, you know, I was ready to just work for myself. I really got tired of working for other people and sort of being in that kind of internal position. And I really felt like I was ready to take that leap and work for myself.
Yeah. When you started, did you, because when I talk to a lot of freelancers or budding entrepreneurs or even people in corporate that are looking to make a change and work for themselves, a lot of the feedback is, well, yeah, I know how to do this thing. Like I know how to do PR, or I know how to do marketing or coding or whatever it is, but I don't know how to run a business. I don't, you know, did you face any of that, or were you like, it's okay, I'll figure it out?
Yeah, I think I really learned on the job about running a business. I really did not, although I had always been kind of self-employed as a musician, I didn't know much about being a business person, owning a business, running a business. So those are the things I really had to learn as I went along. When I first started, when I decided to start my own PR business, it was really, I mean, I started with no clients, so I really sort of said,
as we all do, right?
I'm going to set up a home office and figure this out and go look for some clients, and it kind of gradually grew. But I certainly didn't, I didn't have all the knowledge I should have had before starting my own business.
I think that's so many of us, though, right? Like we leap and then we, figure it out. What would you say is your favorite part about being an entrepreneur?
I love working for myself, so it's a good fit for me. And I tell people who are thinking about, I talk to a lot of PR people who are thinking about sort of freelancing or going off on their own. It has to be the right timing. It has to be the right fit for you.
Yeah.
You have to be comfortable enough that you like the advantages, the benefits of working for yourself, and you're not afraid of the challenges, like not having a steady paycheck and having to pay your own taxes and having to pay for your health care and all those sorts of things.
And I hear so much of that. I feel like that that risk piece is often too great for people, which I get. I mean, not having a steady paycheck, I think we all want that, right? But what would you say, like on the entrepreneurial journey, I'm assuming not every day is like sunshine and rainbows. So what would you say you do to help yourself recover from a harder day when you know you're still taking a lot of risk as a business owner?
Yeah, I think that's constantly a challenge. I mean, I
Yeah.
think somebody told me when I first started, um, it'll be 5 years before you don't panic when you lose a client, right? But that was not true. I still panic sometimes when I lose a client. So I
We're
think,
7 years in and I panic for every single one of them.
yeah, you have to understand that it's cyclical and it goes in streaks. And sometimes you're super busy and you're stressed out because you're so busy. And sometimes you're not busy enough and you're stressed out because it's slow. And so you do have to do a lot of new business development during those slow periods. So I think that's part of the challenge. You have to understand the cycle and how to enjoy the times, the down times,
Mm-hmm.
and not freak out when you're so busy. Sort of enjoy that too, because in a few months you might be wondering, where's my next client come from?
Right, right. I remember our very first, the first client we lost, and it was still when I was the only one working at our company. And I remember calling my dad, and my dad usually has some, he's not in business, in any capacity, but he has a really like entrepreneurial sort of mindset. And I remember telling him, like, Dad, we're going to lose this client. It's not because of anything we did. It's just they're really changing their whole department. And what I'm doing is now coming in-house as part of the change. And I'm panicking on my side, like, how are we going to eat? How are we going to pay our mortgage? All these things, like worst case scenario. And he's like, do you think you could get another client? And I'm like, yeah, actually I do. And so every time I'm stressed, he's like, remember that one time you were stressed about that one client that, you thought the world was crumbling? Go out there and get another client. I'm like, okay, we can do this. Thanks, Dad.
Right. But you're able to, I think, understand, and that's what it means, I think, to be an entrepreneur, that you have to be able to get that, so a door closed, another door is going to open. I just have to be patient and wait for it. And I think if you have that attitude, it makes working for yourself much more enjoyable.
I would agree. As much as it feels like another door is not going to open, in my experience, another door always opens.
Right.
And you have to, like, I've never had a door just open magically on its own, like by saying pretty please. There's a lot of things I have to do to make the door open, but it does. We get there.
Right. And those are the things I'm sure that you talk to your clients about, how to, get traffic to their website, get new business, get better SEO positioning and all those kinds of things. So, sometimes you have to think about those kinds of things for your own business as well.
Yeah, for sure. What would you say, what's one of the best pieces of advice you've ever been given?
Somebody told me when I started that, you can think about your time in terms of a third of it is working for your clients,
Mm-hmm.
a third of it is looking for new clients, and then a third of it is admin. And so when you think about how many hours I'm going to be able to bill each month, it's really about a third of your time that you're going to be able to actually bill. The other part is business development, and the other third is admin. So
That's interesting.
that was really good advice for me. And I think that was, it'll vary from time to time depending on how busy you are. in the business cycle, but I think that was really good advice.
That's really smart, because oftentimes we think, oh, we can bill our full work week, right? But realistically, you can't. You're getting new clients, or you're just doing some basic behind the scenes sort of work.
Right. So if you're somebody that's used to working, 40 hours a week, when you go off on your own or you're freelancing, you're not going to be able to bill 40 hours a week, right?
Right.
So I think you have to think about it in those terms. How much time can I actually be billing for? How much do I actually need to make each month to pay my bills? So I generally tell people who are kind of considering freelancing to think about it in those terms.
That's great advice. As we wrap up, what's one thing that's on your radar that you think we'll all talk about in a year from now as sort of a hot topic or a trend? Like, what do you have sort of insider insight on that you can share?
That's a really good question. I think in PR, there's a big, people talk a lot about brand journalism. So how do brands tell their own stories? Because the media is shrinking, right? So there are fewer opportunities for you to get that story told in mainstream media. So how do we help our clients tell their stories through other channels? Brand journalism is kind of a way for clients to be telling their own stories, creating their own content, whether that's through blogs or podcasts or video. Storytelling that they can use. So I think that's going to become more important. Also, I think finding online communities where your brand can be a thought leader to people who are interested in what your brand is doing, and you can find a channel to help those people connect with your brand, is going to be really important too. Again, because the media is shrinking, so there are fewer opportunities for us as PR people to be telling those stories through mainstream media.
That's interesting that the media is shrinking, because sometimes it feels like it's expanding. And I think that's because we just see so much more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, you hear about it all the time, especially print. Newspapers are laying off reporters, and so what we're seeing, at least in Denver here, is these online news publications starting. Like the Colorado Sun is going to be a very new publication starting actually next week, with a lot of people who formerly worked for the Denver Post. So that's kind of, I think, how things are evolving.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thanks for that, John. I appreciate you being here.
Oh, sure. Thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome.